The Europa building in Brussels was tense, its glass walls glowing in the winter darkness, a silent witness to history in the making. Inside, the air was thick with anticipation and anxiety. This was no ordinary EU summit, but a council of war. The stakes had never been higher, and every leader present knew that the decisions made tonight could shape the continent's fate for decades. In January 2026, EU leaders gathered, their anxiety focused on the unpredictable shadow of President Trump. The world outside was changing fast, and the old certainties of transatlantic partnership were slipping away. Giorgia Meloni, Italy's prime minister and once Trump's European ally, broke the silence with a forceful ultimatum. Europe could no longer rely on others for security. Her words echoed through the chamber, demanding attention. She declared the era of passivity over. Europe must defend its own interests and territory. The time for hesitation had passed, and the continent needed to stand on its own feet. Meloni's words cut through the room, challenging the EU's cautious politics and demanding action. Her message was not just a warning, but a call to arms for a new European resolve. Even leaders like Macron and Merz, usually cautious and measured, felt the urgency. The gravity of the moment was written on every face, as the reality of Europe's vulnerability became impossible to ignore. Meloni's warning signaled a breaking point in the transatlantic relationship. The old alliance with the United States was no longer a guarantee, and Europe faced the prospect of standing alone. Her speech was a wake-up call. The post-war order was cracking, and Europe risked irrelevance if it didn't act. The sense of urgency was palpable, as leaders realized the world they knew was slipping away. The message was clear. Indecision was no longer an option. The time for debate had ended. Now, only action would matter. The hour of consequence had arrived. As midnight approached, the weight of history pressed down on every delegate in the room. Europe's future would be decided now by its own resolve. In this 11th hour, unity and determination would be the only path forward. The crisis began with a demand so audacious it seemed surreal. President Trump wanted to buy Greenland. When Denmark refused, he threatened a 10% tariff on 8 key European NATO allies until the sale happened. This weaponization of trade policy shocked Europe, turning a bizarre request into a test of EU unity. Greenland, part of Denmark, was not just land, it was sovereignty at stake. The threat exposed Europe's vulnerability and dependence on the US market. Smaller EU nations feared they could be next. Trump's gambit was designed to divide, but it forced Europe to confront the reality of its relationship with America. The EU now faced a high-stakes test of solidarity. Behind closed doors, Meloni urged caution. She warned her peers that direct confrontation with Trump would be disastrous, playing into his hands. Instead, she advocated for calm, measured diplomacy, understanding Trump's motives rather than reacting with outrage. Meloni argued for unity without inflammatory rhetoric, focusing on principles like sovereignty and international law. Some leaders, like Macron, pushed for a tougher stance, fearing appeasement. But Meloni's plea forced the EU to weigh the risks of escalation, ensuring their response would be strategic, not emotional. Her voice became a crucial check on Europe's hawkish impulses. Meloni's strategy of restraint shattered after Trump's Fox News interview. The world watched as Trump, with his trademark bravado, made comments that would ripple far beyond American borders. He implied NATO allies hadn't pulled their weight in Afghanistan, a deep insult to nations that had sacrificed lives, resources, and years of commitment. For countries like Italy, who had lost soldiers and invested heavily in the mission, the accusation stung deeply. For Meloni, this was a red line. The suggestion that Italy's efforts were insufficient was not just inaccurate, it was personal. She publicly rebuked Trump, reminding the world of Italy's sacrifices and declaring that friendship requires respect. Her words were sharp, her message unmistakable. Italy would not be belittled on the world stage. Her tone shifted from caution to outrage, transforming the dispute into a matter of national dignity. The Italian public rallied behind her, seeing her as a defender of their honor. Across Europe, leaders echoed her condemnation. Poland, the UK, and others demanded respect for their soldiers. The insult had struck a nerve across the continent. Trump's careless words united Europe in a way policy debates never could. Suddenly, old rivalries faded as leaders found common cause. The insult forged a rare moment of genuine solidarity, as European nations stood shoulder to shoulder in defense of their shared values. Meloni, once a voice for calm, became the face of European resolve. Her leadership in this crisis elevated her status across the continent. The crisis was now about more than trade. It was about honor, sacrifice, and the respect owed to those who serve. Europe would not forget this moment. Outrage over Trump's comments and the Greenland threat galvanized the EU, sparking a wave of determination across the continent. European leaders, often divided on other issues, found rare unity in the face of what they saw as an unprecedented challenge to their sovereignty and values. The bloc moved swiftly from heated debate to decisive action, preparing a massive retaliation package that would send a clear signal to Washington and the world. President von der Leyen, standing before a sea of EU flags, announced a united proportional response, $93 billion in tariffs on US goods, targeting key American industries. For the first time ever, the EU activated its powerful anti-coercion instrument, transforming a legal safeguard into a real-world weapon against economic pressure. In a dramatic move, Parliament froze a major EU-US trade deal, making it clear that business as usual was over and that Europe would not be intimidated. Europe's unity and resolve surprised even its critics, who had doubted the bloc's ability to act with such speed and cohesion. The message to Washington was unmistakable. Europe was willing to endure economic pain to defend its sovereignty and fundamental principles. The EU drew a line in the sand, making it clear that there would be no more submission to bullying or external threats. The continent stood ready to defend its principles and its future, no matter what the cost might be. Faced with a united Europe and market turmoil, the White House backed down. NATO's Secretary General brokered a deal-enhanced security cooperation in Greenland, no sale, and tariffs dropped. Relief was tempered by a new realism. This was a turning point, not a return to old certainties. The crisis shattered illusions about America's unconditional support. Europe's leaders agreed. Strategic autonomy was now urgent, not optional. Plans for deeper defense and industrial cooperation accelerated. Meloni's journey from caution to resolve mirrored Europe's awakening. The EU found new purpose in its vulnerability. The ultimatum became a call to arms for a stronger, more sovereign Europe. The future would be forged by European hands, not American whims.